The Prince of Darkness is an extremely powerful cleanup tower that excels at popping DDTs and super ceramics, but which crosspath you should go is what we're covering in this video. To start, the 005 wizard has its main bolt that deals 1 damage and has 8 pierce. On top of this, the Prince of Darkness has 3 different balloons that it can reanimate to deal damage. The first is a normal balloon that has 2 to 11 pierce and does 2 damage. The second is a mob that has 20 pierce and does 40 damage, and the final one is a BFB that has 50 pierce and does 100 damage. Now where things get funky is when you add in its graveyard. The Prince of Darkness has a graveyard that can hold up to 3,000 popped balloons, and for every 300 in there, every single one of its attacks gets +1 damage, maxing out at +10. Its graveyard fills when balloons are popped in its range and drained whenever he summons undead balloons, so this graveyard number is constantly changing, but as long as you have some mob damage and aren't running a stalling strat, his graveyard should stay pretty full. Upgrading this guy to a 205 will give his main bolt +1 damage, let it home in on balloons, and the ability to see over obstacles. This is incredibly useful on maps with line of sight issues, but the +1 damage and seeking is pretty underwhelming. Compare this to a 025, which gives it 2 new attacks. The first one being a fireball that does 1 damage and has 18 pierce, and the second one being a wall of fire that does 1 damage every 0.1 seconds to up to 15 balloons at a time. Both of these new attacks seem weak, but when buffed by the graveyard they become nice additions to the Prince of Darkness's arsenal, especially the wall of fire, which maxes out at 11 damage every 0.1 seconds, which will shred balloons and fuel the wizard's graveyard. So, based on how I just talked about them, it's clear that the 025 is the better crosspath in most scenarios, as an 11 damage wall of fire is nuts. But if you're on a map that has limited line of sight like Flooded Valley, Moon Landing, or Workshop, then a 205 can be better. But hopefully this helps you out in making your crosspath decision for the Prince of Darkness wizard, and I'll see you in the next one.